So if you're running an aesthetic clinic, a plastic surgery practice, a dermatology clinic, or any cosmetic procedure business where you receive patients through your website, Instagram, word of mouth, or referrals, this is for you. Because a patient can be genuinely interested in booking with your clinic, send one message, get the wrong kind of first response, and disappear before you even realize she was serious. And it's not only because your clinic was too slow. Sometimes the response was too generic, sometimes somebody responded and couldn't answer her real question, and sometimes she was asked to book a consultation before she really felt understood. A patient inquires about a procedure. She has questions. She may be nervous. She wants reassurance. She wants to know whether you understand her problem. And very often, what she gets back is a generic email, a missed phone call, a rushed receptionist reply, or a link to book a consultation. That is not enough to convert a modern aesthetic patient. In this video, I will show you how that happens, why the usual tools fail to fix it, and the system I've built over the last 6 years to solve it in my own clinic. By the end of this video, you will see how MeTime helps you turn more of the inquiries you're already getting into booked consultations, paid deposits, and real revenue, while saving you time, giving patients faster access to expert care, and creating the kind of first experience that makes them want to choose your clinic again and again. So here is what it looks like in most clinics right now. A patient sees one of your posts. She's interested in a procedure. Maybe it's a facial surgery, maybe it's injectables, maybe it's body contouring, a skin treatment, hair restoration, or something she's been thinking about quietly for months. So she sends a WhatsApp message, or completes a form, or sends an Instagram story message, or maybe she even calls the clinic. Then she waits. Your receptionist gets to it in maybe 2 hours, maybe the next day. Maybe it's buried under a thread of 40 other messages. Maybe your staff was with some other patient when the patient called and it goes through to voicemail. Nobody answers. So yes, maybe she moves on because another clinic responded faster, but just as often, she moves on because the response she receives doesn't give her confidence. She gets a generic message, or she gets a short reply that doesn't address the clinical question she's asking. Or maybe she gets an email that just asks her to call the clinic to book a consultation. Or she's asked to explain everything again, to upload photos separately, and someone else will get back to her. So at that stage, the emotional momentum is gone. And this is the part most clinics never really see, because the patient does not complain. She does not email you to say, I was ready to book, but your response did not give me confidence. She doesn't tell you, I needed an expert opinion, but I got a generic admin reply instead. She just disappears. And that is why I think most clinics do not have a lead problem, they have a conversion experience problem. They have patients reaching out from Instagram, websites, ads, referrals, word of mouth, but the first experience is fragmented, slow, generic, and not clinically led. And in aesthetics, that matters. Because when someone is thinking about their face, their body, their skin, or a procedure they've been thinking about for months, they're not just looking for a booking link. They want to feel understood. They want reassurance. They want to know whether you can help them. And they want to feel like there's real expertise on the other side. That is the gap MeTime was built to fix. Not just speed. Speed matters, of course. But what really converts patients is speed plus clinical context. Speed plus expert reassurance. And speed plus a better first experience. Most clinics try to solve this with the tools they already have. They use WhatsApp. They use contact forms, they use phone calls, they use booking links. They ask reception to manage more and more of the inquiry flow. And none of these things are wrong by themselves. The problem is none of them manage the moment between I'm interested in this procedure and I'm ready to pay a deposit or book a consultation. That is the moment where trust is either built or lost. WhatsApp is quick, but it is messy. Photos are scattered, voice notes get buried, staff members come in and out of the conversation, and you can't really assess what a patient is looking for or interested in. Contact forms are even weaker. Someone completes one, it sits in an inbox somewhere, the staff takes time to get back to them, and by that stage they may have already spoken to another clinic. Phone calls take time. An initial phone call about a treatment or procedure can take up to 20 minutes. And even at the end of that, the usual reply to the patient is, you need to come in for a consultation. And online booking tools are only useful once a patient has actually decided to come in for a consultation. They do not help you convert a patient who is still deciding. And that is the problem. Most clinics are using admin tools to manage what is actually a clinical conversion moment. My name is Peter, I'm a doctor, and I've been running aesthetic clinics for 21 years. I did not build MeTime because I wanted to create another piece of clinic software. I built it because I was having this problem every day myself. Patients were reaching out, some were serious, some were not. Some needed reassurance, some needed clinical guidance, some needed to be prioritized, and some were being lost before I ever had a chance to even understand what they wanted. So I built a system around the way aesthetic patients actually think. I tested it in my clinic first, and now I use it every day in my practice. Not as a demo, not as a showpiece, but as my actual workflow. I spend my time with patients who have already shown intent, who have already submitted the information I need, and who are much closer to making a decision. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is what a patient sees when she taps on your MeTime link. She first uploads a short video up to 30 seconds, describing in her own words what she'd like to improve. The areas she's not happy with can be skin, face, body. Then she reviews the video and she can submit it. She's guided to sign in and then confirm her details. And then MeTime generates personalized treatment selections. She's first given the opportunity to add photos as well to her journey, and she's guided to take them accurately at oblique angles from the front and profile views as well. These are then submitted to the provider for assessment. She's presented with personalized treatment suggestions in seconds, so she can review these options. They can be surgical, non-surgical, minimally invasive. So she selects what she likes and then submits the journey. Then she's guided straight away to Get the App, where she will receive her messages and feedback from the provider. Now I want to be clear on what MeTime is and what it is not. MeTime is not a directory. It is not just a marketplace. It is not promising to bring you random patients from nowhere. It is designed to convert more of the patients who are already interacting with your business. The ones who are viewing your Instagram, seeing your Instagram stories and reels, visiting your website, seeing your ads, or being referred to your clinic. The difference is that instead of losing them in the gap between interest and action, you give them a much better way to start the conversation. It also doesn't replace a clinical judgment. Ultimately, you decide on what is appropriate for the patient, and you can see them in your clinic for in-clinic consultations, of course, as well. However, it gives you a much better way as a pre-assessment to determine what treatments are right for the patient, giving them the option to book for procedures if they wish. It saves time so your staff doesn't have to spend 20 minutes on a phone or go forward and back with emails. You can funnel all those patients into your MeTime account where you have a structured journey together with videos and photos to review and start the conversation with the patient. That is the shift. Less time wasted, better conversations, more qualified patients, more deposits, a better patient experience. Let me give you a real example from my own clinic. A patient in her late 50s had been thinking about a facelift for over 2 years. She had already contacted other clinics. One asked her to complete a form, another asked her to call reception. None of them really gave her the confidence to take the next step. Then on a Sunday evening, she came across my Instagram and submitted a MeTime journey. She took her video and she took her photos and submitted them from home. By Monday morning, I had reviewed everything and sent her a personal note with initial thoughts and recommendations. She was quite surprised and really appreciative of the response, and later that afternoon, she booked for her surgery and paid the deposit. Now, the important part of that story is not just that I responded quickly, it is that the response felt personal and expert-led. She knew that I had looked at her properly. She knew that I understood what she was worried about. She felt confident enough to move forward. That is what most clinics are missing. Not just speed, the right response with the right context from the right person at the right moment. In the last 30 days alone, my clinic has processed 175 patient journeys through MeTime. So this is not one lucky case, this is a pattern. When you give high intent patients access to expert care, more of them move forward. And this is why MeTime matters commercially. Because every clinic wants more revenue. But revenue doesn't only come from more leads, it also comes from converting more of the inquiries you already have. If you have 10 patient inquiries and 2 become proper conversations, you don't always need another 10 leads. Sometimes you need a better system for the other 8, a system that captures them properly, qualifies them, prioritizes them, and moves them from interest to booking without unnecessary friction or delay. That is what MeTime does. It saves the provider time because you're no longer spending your day on vague, low-context inquiries. It helps the clinic convert because the patient gets expert reassurance earlier. It supports the team because everything is structured and delegated inside one platform. And it delights the patient because the experience feels modern, personal, and easy. And it's that combination that creates the business impact. More booked procedures, more paid deposits, less admin, less chasing, better patient relationships, and more revenue from the demand you already have. So if you're watching this and you already have patients reaching out through Instagram, email, WhatsApp, ads, word of mouth, the question is not whether those inquiries exist. They already do. The question is how many of them are turning into proper clinical conversations? How many of them are being handled well enough to convert? And how many of them are quietly disappearing before you even realize they were serious. If you would like me to show you how this would work in your clinic, you can book a call using the link below this video. The call is 20 minutes. I will share my screen and show you my real results, ask a few questions about your current inquiry process, and tell you whether MeTime fits for your clinic or not. If it does not, I will tell you, and if it does, I will show you what it would look like to plug MeTime into your existing patient journey, so you can save time, convert more of your existing inquiries, and give your patients a better experience from the very first interaction. Talk soon.